Hello, everyone. When something challenging happens, you have three choices. You can let it define you, you can let it destroy you, or you can embrace it and let it strengthen you. Every single day of our lives, we are faced with choices. There are simple decisions, like what to wear in the morning. Then, there are bigger decisions in life that often shape who you are as a person, like what university you'll go to, what city you will live in, what career choice you will pursue, what partner you will share your life with. Sometimes you make a decision that you thought was the right one at the time, but it turns out it's not what makes you happy or fulfills you the way that it should. It is at that point you should ask yourself, which of these three things you will do? Will you let it define you, let it destroy you, or embrace it and let it strengthen you? It is often challenging and difficult circumstances that force you to take a stand and face adversity. It is these choices that build your character. People who are forced to make these decisions are often the ones who stand out, not because of the circumstance, but more so because of the choices that they made. My name is Dana, and I'm honored to be speaking to you tonight. I'm going to share my story about some choices I've had to make because I was faced with challenges that I could have never imagined for myself or my children. I grew up in Thornhill and experienced a really blessed childhood. People never wondered if I was Jewish growing up because of my last name, Ashkenazi. Yeah, my last name was one of the Jewish tribes. The next joke to follow is always, are you Sephardic? I was brought up to two lovely parents who are actually here tonight. And I have two brothers, Adam and Jordan. My mom, Betty, is from Montreal and is a school teacher. And my dad, David, is an Israeli who came to Canada after meeting my mom hitchhiking while she was on vacation in Israel. Talk about choices. That is a choice that could have gone terribly wrong. Growing up, I had many friends. I danced, went to Hebrew school, and then public school, and eventually went to York University to earn a degree in sociology and my Bachelor of Education. I got married at 24, got a job as a teacher at a fabulous school, bought a house, got a dog. I was following a path and was somewhat in a bubble, a very safe and happy bubble, where there were no real signs of turbulence ahead. I think because I'd never really faced adversity, true adversity, at that point in my life, I didn't realize my potential and what I was capable of. Remember to never underestimate yourself because you don't really know what you can handle. Then life happened. Boom. Things in my life started to get hard. I was faced with a number of situations before I had kids that were challenging and forced me to dig deep and decide how I was going to handle it. Steve Jobs once said, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of other people's opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition." Intuition is the best weapon in life. I believe it is the key to your own personal happiness and perseverance, and I know that now. When I was finally ready to have kids, I was only 26 years old. I always wanted to be a mom, a good mom. I loved children, and I was confident that I can take on this role with ease. When I found out I was pregnant, it was one of the happiest days of my life. I felt true joy. At 10 and a half weeks pregnant, I went in for an emergency ultrasound and found out that I wasn't having one child or two children. I was having three at the same time. Triplets. Yeah. I was in shock. I was surprised, and I was scared for the journey that lay ahead. My world changed in an instant. It instantly wasn't simple anymore. What would I do about a house, a car, babysitting? Would I ever be able to go back to work? And the list goes on and on. I began to reassess everything, and I knew my priorities would shift. I just didn't realize how much they would change. You know how those baby sites always compare the size of your baby to a fruit or vegetable? Well, at the 25-week mark, my kids were just the size, oh, sorry, that's the wrong slide. Oh, there you go, okay. We're just the size of a rutabaga. I don't know what a rutabaga is, or at least I didn't before I did this. But it's essentially the size of a softball. It can fit inside the palm of your hands. When you go to full term, your baby is the size of a pumpkin. It is literally quadruple the size of a rutabaga. Why is this significant? Well, on New Year's Eve, I went into labor at only 25 weeks and 5 days gestation. I was 3.5 months early. How could something the size of a softball survive? At the time, I was absolutely and utterly terrified, scared and uncertain what was going to happen to my 3 beautiful and at that point healthy babies that were inside me. The docs told me when I got to the hospital, I was massive there, sorry, while I was in labor and had no control over the situation, that when a child is born at 3.5 months premature, they are given a 50% chance of survival. With 3 children, the odds were not with me at all. 1 or more was likely going to die. Shortly after midnight on New Year's Eve, when most people are dancing in confetti and having their New Year's kiss, I was being wheeled into an OR for an emergency C-section. Taylor, my daughter, was born at 12:36 a.m., weighing in at 2 pounds 1 ounce. Cole came 2 minutes later, weighing in at 1.5 pounds, and my little Brody came into this world fighting, weighing only 1 pound 14 ounces. My little rutabagas were whisked away from me so quickly. Yeah. That was the beginning of a very difficult and challenging journey for my family. We were in the hospital for weeks on end. My kids had heart surgeries, were ventilated for 6 weeks, hooked up to countless machines. They almost lost their lives a couple of times. They struggled to live, and I struggled to get through each day. I was in survival mode, and those things I worried about before, having kids, my job, my car, my house, it didn't matter. I just wanted my children to be healthy and safe. I made a decision while I was going through all this that I was going to do anything and everything for my children. When they got home, I was so grateful. We made it. They were home with their family as they should be. I was able to hold them, feed them, change their diapers. Things that people don't necessarily appreciate because they expect it. But I cherish these moments because there was a time I was worried I would never get to experience it. I did notice that although their smiles were bright and they interacted well with everyone around them, my kids weren't reaching their milestones on time. They didn't hold their heads up or roll when they were supposed to. They weren't able to hold things the way that other babies did. Everything seemed to be a big challenge for them. Before their 2nd birthday, all 3 of my kids received a diagnosis that would change our worlds forever. My sons, Cole and Brody, were diagnosed as being profoundly deaf, and all 3 had cerebral palsy. All 3. For those of you who don't know what CP is, it's a brain disorder that essentially doesn't communicate the messages from the brain to the rest of the body. Some kids who have CP are mildly affected, while others are severe. Although cognitively, my kids are smart and doing very well, physically, they were dealt a very challenging hand. They all need wheelchairs to help get them around. They will require assistance with everyday things that people take for granted, like feeding themselves, going to the washroom, getting out of bed in the morning, playing with toys, and the list goes on. My son Brody is also nonverbal. His CP affected his ability to speak, and believe me, not being able to speak does not mean you have nothing to say. This all happened because they were born too early. When my kids received their diagnosis, we did physio, occupational, speech, swim, massage therapies. They went horseback riding, participated in conductive education. They went to a special school. You name it, we did it. I just wanted to give them the best possible chance at succeeding. Although they faced so many challenges, my kids were loved and happy. They showed me each and every day what it was to live and be grateful for what you have. They showed me that I can do anything that I set my mind to. Because if these little people who came into this world fighting can do it, why can't I? I learned and continue to learn each and every day from my children. People say that all the time, but I felt it in my bones and in my soul. I was on fire. Suddenly, I went from a woman who had no control over a situation and not having any choices, and bam, I popped my bubble. I decided to create change, to be the change, to follow my gut and intuition of what I wanted to do with my life and the life of my kids. All of a sudden, it seemed there was a plethora of options that would allow me to take on a new path. I suddenly knew that I can choose to make a difference, not only for my kids, but hopefully others as well. I started researching, and by researching, let's be honest, I meant Googling like crazy, and reading books and journals on what was happening out there in terms of research. Is anyone looking for a cure? What innovative therapies are being done to help these children, to help kids like my kids? I was beyond disappointed to find the lack of funding and concentration on kids with neurological disorders. It made sense. Kids can't advocate for themselves, and parents are so overwhelmed with their situation that they just don't have the time or the energy to focus on this area that needed so much attention. I want each of you to put your hands up if you know someone who has autism, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, developmental delay, stroke, traumatic brain injury. Look around you. Keep your hands up, yeah. Almost everyone's hand is up. Unlike adult brain disorders that have a considerable amount of funding put toward it, children's brain disorders are often forgotten. Pretty surprising, since 1 in 6 children are affected in some way. At that time, I met with foundations about stem cell research and innovative therapies like robotic therapy and what it would take to bring it to Canada. There was such a focus in the United States and Israel and places around Europe, but very little being done here in our home country. Why? We have the population. We have SickKids, one of the best children's hospitals in the world, in our very own backyard. What is holding them back? Money. It's always money. So let's make a call to action and fundraise. Let's hold an event and raise the necessary funds and reach out to our community to help us do this. Let's use that money to invest in the necessary research and therapies. So that's exactly what we did. Like I said before, never underestimate yourself. When there is a will, there is a way, and you never know your ability to thrive until you have no choice but to survive. This is how 3 was born. In 2010, we started out as a fund at the Hospital for Sick Children, and with a particular investment in stem cell research, and Holland Bloorview Kids Rehabilitation Hospital with a focus on robotic therapy. We held our first gala. I hope this works. Let's see. There we go. It had 1,000 people. 1,000 people came out. We were blown away. And we raised almost $500,000. We paid for 5 postdoctoral fellow grants to focus on neurological disorders in kids. We were essentially building a team. We thought, okay, we're onto something here. Let's take this to the next level. In 2011, we held our second gala and raised another $500,000 and bought a state-of-the-art robotic machine that helps kids learn how to walk, something that was innovative and something that was going to help so many children. We were on a mission and we kept plowing ahead. We then gained charitable status and defined our mission statement, which was to support the most innovative research, education, and therapies for children with neurological disorders. In 2012, we recruited our board of directors. I came on as the executive director, and we've raised a total of $3 million and leveraged an additional $5 million to support neurological research. Now, you may be wondering why we chose to focus on neurological disorders as a whole instead of just cerebral palsy. The reason is fairly simple. If one treatment or therapy can help one disorder, it has the potential to help another. So many brain disorders in adults and children are connected, and there is greater potential to have impact or make a breakthrough when you focus on the larger picture. Also, from an advocacy perspective, alone we are rare, but together we are strong. Instead of working in silos, work together. Collaboration is always the key to success. Over the past 5 years, 3 has made a significant mark in the world of research by investing in people and projects that make a difference. To think that our funding has translated from a postdoctoral fellow grant in year 1 to an actual pilot clinical trial in children is beyond words. We are no longer decades away from a discovery. Being able to repair a child's brain is now within our reach. We have invested in state-of-the-art equipment. And technologies aimed at revolutionizing how children with neurological disorders interact with the world around them. This is the local mat that was purchased for Holland Bloorview. Incredible. It's the first one in Canada. All of this has created hope for the many families through our Parent Advocacy Link, otherwise known as PAL, which is a community of parents, and families of children that provides resources and supports that better enable them to advocate. All of this shows us that change is possible, that making a decision to believe in the impossible empowers us. I see it every day in my own home with Taylor, Cole, and Brody. It is the fact that my previously deaf son, Cole, and I say previously, can now hear because of innovative technology. His cochlear implants give him the gift of hearing. Imagine someone telling a parent of a deaf child 30 years ago that their child would be able to hear. I can't say enough about that. It's my son Brody, who is unable to communicate verbally. He can't talk. A child who some may view as essentially being trapped in his own body is able to communicate through his communication book and communication technology. Do you know how incredible it is for him to be able to express himself? It is the fact that my daughter Taylor can dance without her walker, something people would have never thought possible, something I always dreamed of being a dancer myself. As you can see in this video here, where she's dancing to Taylor Swift, there is a device that was created that can allow kids, like my kids, to be able to move freely. An Israeli mom created this to help her son, and it has turned help many others. Now take a moment and imagine where we will be in 50 years from now. The sky is literally the limit. The Jewish community in particular has supported 3-2-B from the very beginning and has helped us set the foundation of where we are today. An example of this is Isidore Sharp. I don't know if he's here. He is someone who believed in us right from the beginning, when we were just an idea. He was, in fact, our very first donor. Izzy reached out to his community to join us in our mission to help these children, and thus created a ripple effect. The future of 3-2-B and the future of children with neurological disorders is a promising one, but we need the continued support of our community to take us to the next level. We cannot do this alone. If you look at the adorable faces on this screen, you can see they are children first, who should not be defined by their disability, but rather their ability. They deserve a chance at a full and happy life and given every opportunity to thrive. The truth is, at first, people don't know how to act around a special needs child or a person in a wheelchair. They are often afraid or intimidated because they are scared to ask the wrong question. 3-2-B has allowed people to ask those questions and has encouraged people to look beyond limitations and to the infinite possibility for all children. I am a mom who no longer feels alone. It is truly empowering. So to end my talk, I want to read a piece. I want to read a piece written by a mom who epitomizes what it means to take a difficult situation and make a choice to turn it around and make it into something beautiful. I'm often asked to describe the experience of raising a child with a disability, to try and help people who have not shared that unique experience to understand it, to imagine how it would feel. It's like this. When you're going to have a baby, it's like planning a fabulous vacation trip to Italy. You buy a bunch of guidebooks, make your wonderful plans, the Colosseum, the Michelangelo David, the gondolas in Venice. You may learn some handy phrases in Italian. It's all very exciting. After months of eager anticipation, the day finally arrives. You pack your bags and off you go. Several hours later, the plane lands. The stewardess comes in and says, "Welcome to Holland." Holland, you say? What do you mean, Holland? I signed up for Italy. I'm supposed to go to Italy. All my life, I've dreamed of going to Italy. But there's been a change in flight plan. You've landed in Holland, and there you must stay. The important thing is they haven't taken you to a horrible, disgusting, filthy place full of pestilence, famine, and disease. It's just a very different place. So you must go and buy new guidebooks, and you must learn a whole new language, and you will meet a whole new group of people you would have never met. It's a very different place. It's slower paced than Italy, less flashy than Italy. But after you've been there for a while and you catch your breath and you look around, you begin to notice that Holland has windmills, and Holland has tulips. Holland even has Rembrandts. But everyone you know is busy, coming and going from Italy, and they're all bragging about what a wonderful time they've had there. And for the rest of your life, you will say, yes, that's where I was supposed to go. That's what I had planned. And the pain of that will never, ever, ever go away, because the loss of that dream is a very, very significant loss. But if you spend your life mourning the fact that you didn't get to go to Italy, you may never be free to enjoy the very special and very lovely things about Holland. Thank you.